It will be amazing. Perfect. So we are going to wait around 2 minutes in order to wait for some of the attendees to arrive. And while we are waiting, I would like you to give you the structure of this webinar, the webinar that is hosted by the Geneva School of Diplomacy today. And so this way you will know. So the first part of the webinar, the first segment, it will be me. I will give you the key points about our programs, about our institution. After that, we will dig a little bit in the international careers with our general manager. After that, you will have the admissions officer to explain you a little bit about the admission process, the admissions and application process. And lastly, we will have a Q&A session. So you can ask as many questions that you need about the programs, about the institution, and also to hear anything that you want to talk with us. So I will wait just 1 second. Also, I want to say thank you very much for you to be here. And also that it was really impressive to see in the registration form, that you are coming from everywhere around the world. So that is always good news. That is always amazing. And okay, I see that it's already the time. So I'm going to start. So my name is Ushia. I'm Ushia Kanai. I'm one of the admissions counselor of the Geneva School of Diplomacy. And I'm going to be the one in this first part to explain you a little bit about our institution, where it's located, what are our goals, and our programs. So without any further ado, I want to start with a brief introduction. So the Geneva School of Diplomacy is located in Grand-Saconnet. Is located in the, as we say, in the most diplomatic neighborhood, because it's 5 minutes from the United Nations and the majority of embassies and international organizations. We are a boutique specialized institution in international relations and diplomacy. We are the only one that is specialized in diplomacy, in fact. And our academic programs go from the bachelor program, master, double master to doctorate, and then as well as we have specific trainings on executive level, like our executive master and our executive programs, and diplomatic skills trainings for summer school students from 15 to 18 that want to know a little bit more about this field, or for short-term certificates for students that want to do a certificate of 1 semester on bachelor or master level. So the 3 key points for our institution and for these programs are, first of all, excellence, then global perspective and practical approach. So how we ensure the academic excellence in international relations and diplomacy, that is our field, with our faculty. And that is a really important point. All of our faculty, apart from having more than 20 years of working experience and also being doctors in the field, in the different fields of international relations and diplomacy, they are active workers. By active workers, just to put you some examples, I'm talking about former advisors of prime ministers. I'm talking about advisors for the UNCR, United Nations, former ambassadors or active or professors that are ambassadors in active, and as well as high chief advisors for the main international organizations, Red Cross, United Nations, World Trade Organization, WHO as well. So that is the level of the faculty that we have in the Geneva School of Diplomacy. Then the global perspective is, as you may know, we're international relations. So it's really important for us that not only our faculty is international, but our students to be international. We are really proud to say that we have students from all over the world, and we are trying to have more and more students and to keep the diversity on the best level, high level. And the last and the most important is the practical approach. We don't only offer the theoretical approach of international relations and diplomacy, but we also offer a practical approach. So how we do that? So in two ways. The first one, and I normally divide it into the external one, is first of all, as I said before, the Geneva School of Diplomacy is located in Geneva, which is the most major diplomatic hub. All the international organizations, all the NGOs, all the missions and embassies are here. All the most important decisions in international relations are taken here in Geneva. Also, Geneva has, I think that right now more than 50% of the population of Geneva are international, and the majority, a high percentage of the workforce is related to international relations and diplomacy. So that is really important, that you are surrounded by people that are studying in the same field, or they have the similar goals as you have. Then we have the global networking. And with the global networking, it's not only that you are able to connect and talk and go to conference and seminars in these organizations, in the missions or in the embassies, but it's also that our institution is able to offer special access to this conference and these seminars. In fact, I can tell you that last week, the Human Rights Office of the Higher Commissioner, they asked us for some volunteers for the project, for the Human Rights Dialogue, for the Youth Dialogue event. And we were able to provide those students. But not only that, when I'm saying global networking, is that we are able to give special access to competitions, like the Geneva Center for Security Policy has cybersecurity competitions in which our students are able to beneficiate. In fact, last semester, one of our group of students were able to be finalists in this competition. And along with that, we have the practical experience. With the practical experience, I will talk a little bit later because it's related to our internship program, which also our admissions officer will explain a little bit more. And the last one that is also important is the United Nations access. Every student of the Geneva School of Diplomacy is able to get the United Nations badge in order to be able to access to the United Nations library and archives. But not only that, you will be able to access to any public space of the United Nations. So again, they will help you to motivate you and be surrounded by a really interesting pool of specialists and professionals from this field. With that, now I want to pass to the, let's say, the internal part, in the sense of how we have this practical approach inside of the Geneva School of Diplomacy, inside of our programs. And the first thing is that, as I said before, we are a boutique exclusive institution with limited places. So the groups that we have for bachelor, master, doctorates, and executive level education are pretty small. The reason why is because that way you were going to be able to beneficiate more from the knowledge and even the mentorship that our professors can provide to you. Also, apart from that, we have our conference and seminars. We not only give information or provide access to the conference and seminars outside, but also inside of our institution. We have the Emerging Issues and Persistent Challenges. That is a series of seminars that we hold in the Geneva School of Diplomacy, and in which we bring professionals to give lectures of 2 hours with a Q&A at the end for the students to be able to network and also to be on top of the current, to get the information of the current events that are happening right now in this field. So, for example, yesterday we have the executive director of the 2050 Today to talk about the decarbonization of the International Geneva and about sustainability. And last week, our students were able to go to the US mission to have a really enriching lecture about disarmament by the ambassador of the US mission to the United Nations. So as you can see, for us, it's really important, the networking part. Then the next thing that is, I think, that one of the most interesting one is our internship program, which is mandatory for bachelor and masters. And with that, I think the only thing that I would like to say is just to throw some numbers. For a bachelor program, our top student, that is Zoe Ryan, that is a bachelor student from 2017, she was able to get up to 6 internships. She was able to finalize the program with 6 internships on her resume. For us, normally for bachelor students are between 3 to 4 internships, even though they only need to present 1 internship report. In the case of the master students, are around between 1 to 2 internships, but because the master program is 1.5 years and the bachelor program is 3 years. And I think that with that, what I wanted to say, and our general manager will explain a little bit more about the international careers, and he will also show you some interesting statistics about the alumni, is that internships are mandatory and they are one of the most important part of our programs. Now, apart from that, all of our bachelor or master executive, they are really focused also on the practical approach in terms of roundtable discussions and debates, workshops, case scenarios, group research projects, and then, of course, you will have your midterms, your finals, and the presentations and reports. But with that, what I wanted to show you is that with this practical approach, we tried not to only to provide the theoretical knowledge, but also the practical knowledge in things like diplomatic etiquette, strategic communication, analyzing current affairs, or even collaboration and creativity. There are specific skills that are needed for you, especially when you want to enter in the workforce. But as I said before, I'm happy right now to present you to the general manager, Dr. Rakesh Krishnan, that he will be the one that explain you a little bit more about the international careers in Geneva and the possibilities that you might have. So, Dr. Rakesh Krishnan, I know.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Can you hear me, see me? All is well? Wonderful. My name is Rakesh, and I'm the General Manager of the Geneva School of Diplomacy. Thank you very, very much for being here, of course. Usha, could you move the slide, please, to the next one? So I'm here to speak to you a little bit about careers in diplomacy. I know that you are very interested in, people here are interested in diplomacy and international relations, and you would like to launch yourself into a career in international relations. So this presentation, just not being about admissions, it's also about how do you launch your career in international relations. Let me start with a little bit of a statistics like we see on the screen. I'm starting it not just to flaunt the achievements of our alumni or students, but also for another reason, which I'll just explain in a few seconds. If you see that almost 80% of our students, 70 to 80% of our students get their jobs within 0 to 6 months after graduation. So that is something that GSD is specializing, and I'll tell you why that is as we move along. But the second one is the most interesting stats. If you notice that there are embassies, media, journalism, politics, consulting companies, education, civil society organization, and all kinds of other international relations related industries or fields. But you will also notice that there's a lot of private sector now popping up. If you had asked us 5 years ago, we would have said that around 5% of our students usually go to private sector. But in the last 5 years, there is a new trend going on, which is private companies or private sector is very interested in recruiting international students with international relations background. So at the moment, around 20 to 22% of our students at the end of their program end up in private sector as well. So why am I saying that? Is because whenever people talk about international relations and diplomacy, or a degree in international relations and diplomacy, we notice that they only think about the UN. They only think about going back and joining their country in their foreign service, or they want to do politics, etc. So, but that's not the case. Private sector is very open nowadays, and they're very interested in taking in international relations and diplomacy students as well. So if you are someone who's thinking about international relations and you want to go into private sector, you absolutely can think about international relations as a career. So I want to start by saying that. Now, in terms of launching a career in international relations, now I'm going to talk about, let's say, bachelor's and master's level, which is the basic necessity. Geneva, as you know, is the home of diplomacy, it's the home of international relations. New York is a powerhouse. Vienna, UN has Vienna. Vienna also has a UN. So Africa has a UN as well. But if you want to get things done, you still have to come to Geneva, because Geneva is the capital of diplomacy, the right center. And GSD as an institution is in the center of that center. So it is very, very important. And like any other field, diplomacy and international relations is about who do you know and who knows you. So what you'll be doing by studying international relations in diplomacy, whether you come to GSD or to Geneva, is you would be right at the center of diplomacy. You'd be studying something that is very much in demand in this place, because that is also something that many students do. That's a mistake that we see, which is many students go on to study a subject or a field in a university just for that brand of that university. But the problem is that that place may not be an ideal place or an ideal job market for that degree. So what happens is that students spend all that money on education and they don't reap the benefits of it. That's why it's very important to go and study degrees in places where they're in demand. And what is demand in Geneva or Switzerland? Of course, chocolates, of course, watches, of course, banks. But another important aspect that is very much in demand in Switzerland is diplomacy and international relations. So if you are considering about studying international relations and diplomacy, I would strongly urge you, whether you come to GSD or not, I strongly urge you to think about Switzerland and Geneva, because the opportunities that Switzerland and Geneva can provide you in terms of networking, contacts, job prospects, etc., is unmatchable compared to with any other city as to what it can provide. You might immediately say, well, I could go to New York, but New York only has UN headquarters and it can only hold X number of people, and it's very, very competitive. So it's very, very important to, as I am giving my opinion, it's not an advice, my opinion, to study something in a place where it's in demand. And Geneva is a great place to study international relations and diplomacy for the reasons that I just told you, because Geneva is not only hub of international relations and diplomacy, it's also a hub of chocolates, banks, watches, trading companies. You have the best. And also don't forget Switzerland. In Switzerland is ranked as #1 country in the number of patents that are registered, which basically means there are a lot of startups and ideas being, it's a place where new ideas originate and are established. So it creates a lot of job opportunities as well. And another thing is the strength of the economy, of course. The unemployment rate is around 2%, one of the lowest in the world and Europe. So that also contributes. In terms of diplomacy, I'm going to talk in terms of how do you launch yourself. For bachelor's and master's students, we all usually, as I think Ushia might have explained to you, we have an internship program within the courses or programs while you're doing the bachelor's and master's. An average student finishes around bachelor's 2 to 3 internships easily. Our A student has finished around 6 internships, and she went on to study in London School of Economics and straight into European Union for a job. Masters around 2 internships, sometimes 3. And why do we insist on that? Because when you work for bigger companies, you're thinking about working in an environment where confidentiality is very important. And these organizations don't just take in anyone for jobs. So they would like to know you, they would like to know your work better, and that's one of the main reasons why internships are considered as the doorway or the path towards entry into these international organizations. And what GSD does is it gives you that opportunity to get into these organizations, work, and get to know them at the same time for your future boss to get to know you. And thereby, you not only create a professional relationship, you also create personal relationship that usually converts into a job, and therefore you're launched. So this is very, very important to think about when you launch your career in diplomacy. You have to see internship as a path or a way. And GSD, as Usha might have explained, works with several of our partners to get these internships for students. It's a very, and what you would be doing by coming to GSD is you'd be skipping the queue of all those people who would like to get a job or an internship in Geneva, because you'll be here and you would be getting into these organizations on a fast track basis. And that is very, very important to launch your career. And for bachelors, what do you need to do? Bachelors or masters, what do you need to do to launch yourself into a career in diplomacy? Diplomacy is a very conventional field, so you cannot, how do you say, as much as Google Translate, ChatGPT is going to be helpful, diplomacy is still very conventional, meaning people like to do business face to face because they don't trust, and you'll be dealing with a lot of confidential information. So languages is a very, very important aspect. So as many languages as you can, particularly UN languages, I would suggest you to learn them. Apart from that, be a voracious reader, because Geneva is an amalgamation of all cultures in the world. More than 50% of them are foreigners, of the population in Geneva are foreigners. So you will meet people from every nook and corner of the world in Geneva. So you'll be exposed to a lot of cultures, a lot of topics. So it's very important for you to learn or read voraciously, not just from one source, not just one topic. You need to be able to speak on several topics. You need to be able to know and understand other perspective, other topics, etc. So be a voracious reader as well. Third, if you don't have experience, you come here and you will start working for different organizations. And by that way, you will get the experience that is needed for you to launch yourself. I can give you a very good example, actually. We have a student who had only yachting experience. And when she came here, she was very, very, how do you say, brutal. She didn't know whether she belonged to this. And now she's working actually for UNCTAD. Through the we put her on an internship with UNCTAD, and they liked her, and she got into UNCTAD as for a job position. And why was that? Even though she has only yachting experience, she got into the maritime department of UNCTAD. And that's my next point, which is every organization is interdisciplinary. So if you are interested in human rights, what is the amateur mistake they do is they always think about joining OHCHR, which is the UN Organization for Human Rights. But it's not only OHCHR that does human rights. Every other organization does human rights as well. Example, International Telecommunications Union, if you know, the organization that sets policies for telecommunications and technology. They have a human rights department that looks at the human rights aspect of increasing technology, providing additional technology to developing countries, human rights of people who might potentially struggle from the heavy signal pollution, the Starlink of Elon Musk, the effects on people, the effects on conflict. These are all part of it. So many organizations, even though they are not directly related to human rights, they'll be doing human rights. If you're interested in environment, same situation. It's just not United Nations Environment Program that is doing environment. There's plenty of other organizations that do environment as well. So I would strongly suggest, if you're looking for a career in, let's say, example, I'm just taking an example, human rights, not to just look at one single organization, look at different organizations, because they will also have career prospects. And by coming to an organization like GSD or institution like GSD, which is solely focused on preparing policymakers. So there are two types. One is the academia, the other one is the policy making. We are focused more on policy making. That's why I think you must have heard Usha insist on practical approach. And practical approach is not just a service that we provide, like you might see in many other institutions' website, most probably. Practical approach is the DNA of the Geneva School of Diplomacy. We have first, whenever we think about a program, a student, we first put practical approach in the center and design everything around that. And that way, and how do we do that? Our professors are practitioners, internship programs. You are given extremely special access into UN conferences. So you meet people, you gain experience, you volunteer, and that way you are learning by doing. And all your professors, since they're practitioners, they'll exactly tell you what's going on inside these organizations for you to be prepared. So just to sum up, language skills, be a voracious reader, be interested in general affairs, global affairs, etc. And if you are interested in private sector, it does not, a degree in international relations does not stop you from climbing up. And we have seen that in private sector, just not having an MBA is not going to help, because at the top level, after mid-level jobs in big corporations, you won't be thinking about what do I do with the performance appraisal of that employee or colleague, or what would be the marketing budget. You will be dealing with the bigger issues, like how do I enter a new market? How do I negotiate a contract with the government? How do I set up a factory? How do I get tax credits? How do I get tax incentives from different countries? So you have macro projects, problems to deal with. And for that, big corporations prefer people who know international relations, diplomacy, international law, international politics, international economics. And that's what we will prepare you here for. So at the end of it, and at the end of a bachelor, usually our students end up going to they continue with us, or they end up going to Ivy League schools. And with the masters, they end up having a career in Geneva or around the world. And that's why you would see from the stats that GSD has 100% internship placement rate, basically meaning you will not graduate without an internship, at least one. And then, as I was saying, it's not just one internship students do, they do plenty. So that's a little bit of information that I can give you in the short time that has been allocated to me on international relations, diplomacy, launching a career. We'll be very happy to answer. You might see from the slides, you can go to our website and there is something called the alumni map, where you can click on those dots and actually find what our alumni are actually doing at the moment. So that's a good example. We have just put a few of them because if we put everything, the map will be completely red. You can see a few examples actually on the slides. You see a good diversification, which is people working as ambassadors, people who are working for international organizations, and people who are working for governments, and people who are working for private sector. So there's a really nice mix here. This is just a very simple example. There's like another hundreds we can throw around here. I just saw a quick question, which I will just answer and move on to the next part, which is with our admissions office, how to do this. I just saw someone ask whether if you have an engineering background, you can join our masters. We have doctors, engineers, medical practitioners, everyone joining masters. I can give you a very good example now. We had a nuclear engineer join for masters, and that person at the moment is working for International Atomic Energy Agency, because he got the right mix of nuclear science plus international relations. So he is working at the moment in Vienna in the International Atomic Energy Agency. So that's just an example. So if you're a doctor, if you are a business person, entrepreneur, engineer, it does not stop you from taking on international relations, because of the beauty of international relations. It is very broad field. Everything that we see on this planet has a connection to international relations, because it's about policy making. So if you have a very diverse background, it doesn't matter. You absolutely can apply for the master's or the bachelor's, of course, and continue with us. So with that, I will stop here and I will move on to Maya, who's our admissions officer, will give you more information on how to apply. At the end of this webinar, if you have any questions pertaining to my part, I'll be happy to answer, come back and answer. With that, I hope that I'll see at least some of you in GSD in Geneva. And I wish you all a very, very good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you very much.
Hello, I have a question.
Hello. I think we're going to proceed with the application process, and then at the very end, we will take your questions. Okay? All right. So now that, thank you, Rakesh and Ushia. Now that Rakesh and Ushia have told you the why you may want to join us at GSD and why we may be a good fit for you, I'm just going to briefly go over the application process and give you the how to get here. So all of our applications are done online through our website. And it's a pretty straightforward process. You go to the website, you select the program you're interested in applying for, click on the Apply Now button, start entering your information. It will walk you through what documents you need to upload. It's pretty self-explanatory. But I'll go over just so you have an idea of the kind of documents that we require. You'll be asked to upload a current resume, a current CV. You'll also be asked to upload a color copy of your passport photo page, a cover letter or motivation letter of about 500 words. And for this, we ask that you tell us why you want to come to Geneva, why you want to study at our school, why you think you are a good fit for us, and vice versa, why you think we're a good fit for you. We do ask also for 2 letters of recommendation, and these can be academic from a professor or a teacher or a mentor, or if you have some professional work experience or have had internships or other extracurricular activities, it can also be a professional recommendation. So it's not necessarily limited to academics. We also want to see a copy of the last grade transcripts and any diplomas that you have. And that for the bachelor, obviously, is your high school or high school equivalency diploma. Now, for those applying to bachelor's, we understand that many have not yet finished the school year. So don't panic. We just want to see the most current transcript that you have available up to this point. And we are usually able to reach our admissions decision based on that. The most important thing this is non-negotiable, is proof of English proficiency. Geneva is a very international city with hundreds and hundreds of languages spoken, but English is a language at the Geneva School of Diplomacy. And we have found through trial and error, through over 20 years of experience, that students that thrive and do well and are able to handle the large amounts of reading and writing and speaking have a B2 C1 level of English. So we do ask that if English is not your mother tongue, or if you are not currently doing your education in English, that you provide us with proof of your proficiency. And that usually amounts to the B2 C1 level that we require amounts to a 6.5 IELTS, and that's about a 90 for the TOEFL score. And finally, you have to pay your application fee as well, and that can be done by a credit card through our website. The other thing that I should mention is we do ask for an interview, and I'll usually hold those on Google Meet online. They're about 15 to 30 minutes long each, and it's not so much an interview as I want to know about you. I want to give you an opportunity to tell me about yourself and why you would like to join us, and also to answer any questions that you may have about our school, the application process, Geneva in general. So for our executive master's programs, we should mention that we do require around 3 years or more of professional experience. And for the doctorate program as well, part of the application process involves submitting a research proposal of about 4,000 to 5,000 words. And we also like to see at least 4 years of professional experience. And we do require a proof of a pretty solid foundation in international relations. So if we could go to the next slide. Okay, so as far as timing is concerned, we do have a rolling admissions process. And what that means is year round, we are going through and receiving and considering all the applications that are coming through. We have two intakes. So we have a spring intake. Classes usually begin first week of February. And we have an autumn intake, which is usually the largest intake. And that also the classes begin usually the first week of September. Now, the dates that you need to keep in mind are based on two factors. Number one, your nationality. If you are a non-EU individual that do not hold an EU or Swiss passport, you're going to have to apply for a Swiss or Schengen student visa. Usually, that takes around 3 months for the Swiss authorities to come back with a decision after you have submitted your application. Rarely it can take up to 4 months, but we tell people if you are non-EU and let's say you want to join us in September, please, for the sake of your sanity, so that you're not stressing, worrying about your visa, wondering if it'll come through a week before school starts, apply at least 4 months ahead of time, ahead of your desired intake. So that would be around May. The other thing to keep in mind with respect to timing is financial aid. If you go to our website and you go to the Financing Your Studies section, you can find more information about our financial aid programs. We have two main programs. We have a fellowship program and a scholarship program. Now, our financial aid is we have a fixed allotment for each intake. And the financial aid is awarded on a first come, first served basis. So it makes sense that if you wait until the last minute to apply, chances are we're not going to have much, if any, financial aid available because the aid will have already been distributed to students who applied before you did. So we do tell people, if you are interested in applying for financial aid, once again, the earlier you apply, the better. And I think that is all from my end, but I will also be around to answer any questions you may have after Ushia wraps it up.
Yes, so right now is going to be the Q&A session. So as you can see in the screen, please, you can raise your hand in order to speak. You can put the questions on the chat if you prefer. Also, if you are really interested in have a one-on-one information session with one of us, please let your email on the chat box. So this way we can contact you and we can send an information session, because I understand that depends a lot, because I'm seeing a lot of questions asking for, I have this certificate, or I studied in this university, or I'm from this place. And we understand that sometimes you want a more tailored information session. So please don't hesitate to let your email on the chat box to contact you. And now, please, just we can start, and you can raise your hand and we can try to answer all your questions. I'm seeing here that the first one was Caleb. If I pronounce any name wrong, please let me know, because my name is Ushia, so I understand that how difficult it is sometimes for other people to get your name right. So please, Caleb, tell us, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Can you hear us? If not, you can always use the chat box. But if not, I'm going to pass to the next one, that is Lena. So please, Lena, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Yes, hi, thank you. I wanted to ask regarding the English proficiency.
Yes.
Are you looking at transcripts as well to see if your courses have been in English? For example, in my case, my high school transcript, so well as my bachelor's transcript, are both in English because I studied in English, but in a German country. Would that be recognized? And if not, would citizenship be applied? What do you all take other than those recognized tests?
Yes, that is a very good question. So you would qualify for English language proficiency waiver, given the fact that you've been doing your studies with English as the medium of instruction. We would just ask that you write that statement, just, I, Jane Doe, attest that I completed my education, my high school education entirely in English. Sign it, date it, and that will qualify for the exemption.
Perfect. And then I also wanted to ask, if you wouldn't mind, I wanted to ask if there's such a thing as applying too early. If I were to apply now for intake potentially in the fall semester in 2024, would that be too early? Would that be confusing with the spring semester?
Not at all. We already have plenty of semester applications coming in for next year. So no, not at all. Now is a great time.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So the next person that raised the hand was Queer. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, but please, Queer.
Thank
Tell
you so much. You have gotten it right.
Perfect.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, for one to apply for the bachelor's program, if I already have a diploma in international relations, can I apply?
For the bachelor?
Yeah.
Okay, and you already have a bachelor in international relations.
I don't have a bachelor, I have a diploma.
You have a diploma. Is that a high school diploma?
No, I have a diploma I did in the university.
Okay. Well, if you would like, I don't know. Without having the diploma in front of me, it's hard for me to answer your question.
I can answer that, Maya, if you want.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yes, you can. Whoever asked
Okay.
that question, yes, you can.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, in fact, if you want, we can set a counseling meeting, an information session. So as Maya was saying, we can check your case, and I can give you all the info about the bachelor program and how to apply, if you prefer. Perfect.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course.
Who's next? Ushi, I think your microphone is off.
Oh, sorry. That is probably it. Thank you very much, Maya. Now, the next person that raised the hand was Batul. So please, if you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes. Hello, I'm Batul from Lebanon.
Thank you.
Hello.
I'm really shy to ask you because I have sent you an email, but I'm searching for scholarships. I believe that I have all qualification and ambition necessary to join this estimate intentions in Geneva, while everything hanging me squarely funded the 100% scholarship. I remain determined to find the right opportunity, though I haven't found someone who supports me completely. I'm committed to enrolling my master's degree with you.
So you are interested on the master program. You are looking for a scholarship.
Yes.
Okay. May I ask you, what is your overall grade?
I am graduated the bachelor degree in political and administration science.
Okay. May I ask you to? I will check the email because you told me that you already sent an email. So I will double check.
Yes, you just replied to me and sent the financial aid section, which is 50%.
Yes.
Okay. If I can, cut in for the 100% scholarship, we only are able to give one of those per year, and those are only available for refugees living in Switzerland. So
Yes, I
unfortunately,
know that. I would like to inquire if you are aware for any organization or association that provide funding opportunity for international students in the form of scholarship.
For that, I think it would be best if we continue to go. We'll reply to you via email. Nothing comes to mind, but I would have to know more about you to maybe make some recommendations. But I'd be happy to set up if you'd like an online meeting, and we can discuss.
Yes, we just, if you remember, from 5 weeks or less, we just have a meeting with you.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Happy to jump
That's
in.
the case. Yeah, no, but I'd be happy to, again, nothing comes to mind at the top of my head. Unfortunately, yeah, full companies or international organizations who sponsor full scholarships are very few and far between. That's not to say they don't exist, but yeah,
I'm happy to jump in, Maya.
yeah.
Batul, this is Rakesh, General Manager. I see your question. You will have to check that locally. Swiss government does not offer scholarships for international students, as you already know. So it's very important to check locally. Our exposure to Lebanon as a local market financing is very less, I must admit. So I would strongly suggest you to reaching out to someone or a financial company in Lebanon. We'll certainly look into our contact list and see if there is someone who can help you out, but at the moment, we can't commit. Another main reasons for 50% fellowship or scholarship that we offer in Switzerland is Swiss government will not give you a visa if you are on 100% scholarship. So that is also something very important for you to know. It's a legal requirement. Okay, so Maya, if she finds something in Lebanon, she'll definitely get back to you on that. But I strongly suggest you to start looking inwards in Lebanon. That would be my advice. Next person.
And now I'm going to ask check some questions on the chat box because we have a lot of them, in fact. And does the English, I'm going to start by the end, does the English language proficiency exception applies to me from Ethiopia, having both a BA and a Master in International Relations with English as medium of instruction? Yes.
Then yes, definitely you qualify for the waiver. If your prior education or prior degree was done with English as a medium or language of instruction, then yes, you do not have to submit an IELTS or TOEFL score.
Exactly. Then the next one is about diversity. Are there any punitive measures on students taking a stand on any given political issue, as IR is political charges course? So in this case, I think that the manager can answer better the question than
Happy
me.
to answer.
Yes.
You can take political stands as much as you want. It's a diplomatic school. It's a political school, so you can have any political stand apart from a political stand that is against the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. You cannot take a stand against that. That is against everyone. So example, if you say that my political stand is to annihilate the entire world, now we have a problem there. So that's not permitted. But other than that, ideologically, politically, you can take whatever stand it is, because it's Geneva and you'll find people of all political stands here. Thank you.
And we have professors of all political stances as well. So we're a school of diplomacy and diversity, definitely.
Yes. And the next question is Valerie, and I'm going to answer. My question is concerning the requirements for the master program. What is the least GPA required? And also elaborate in detail if there are any scholarship available. Also, kindly give a rough budget that one will require with accommodation. Perfect. I think that Maya, you can take this one.
Sure. So we're not a business school that requires a GMAT. We use numbers kind of as an initial sounding board. And really, when we're considering an application, we sit down with all of our application and admission committee, and we discuss each case individually. If I know people like numbers, so I'll give a number. Our successful students tend to not have anything below a 3.2, a GPA that's out of 4. But that's not to say that, if you have other great strengths, if you have an amazing background and you in Model UN and debate, and you have a ton of extracurriculars where that show that you're interested in humanitarian work, and it's hard to put a number on things. We consider each case individually. And know that some people aren't quite so academic. We'd rather see a person who may not have a 4.0 GPA, but who is an excellent orator, as Rakesh was saying, a voracious reader, and already comes to us with a really proven interest in international relations than someone with a 4.0 who just wants to sit quietly by the sideline and not take advantage of all the networking and debating and other career opportunities that we make available. I'm sorry, the second part of the question was?
And the budget, more or less.
Oh, the budget, yes, the budget, yes. In order to receive a Swiss visa, I'm just going to give you the number that the Swiss government puts out. You have to show that you have access to 2,000 Swiss francs a month. So that amounts to 2,000 US dollars a month, roughly. And that includes housing, food, public transportation, all of your living expenses in Switzerland. So that is what the Swiss government likes to see in order for people to be granted a Swiss student visa.
Perfect. Then the next question, and then I will go back to the people that you raise your hand. And the next question is, for internships, can you please tell me how many hours a week these internships are? So then I think I can respond this one. So normally when we have our bachelor and masters, normally in the moment that they start the program, they start with the internship programs, meaning they start to putting themselves in contact with the career department and they start for looking for internships. Luckily for us in Geneva, you can find a lot of internship positions in international organizations, NGOs, even private sector and public sector. And normally our students are able to study at the same time that they do the internships. So that depends. Some students are able to get an 80% internship. Some students are able to get a 50%, 70%, even the minimum I think is 50% internship in terms of hours I'm talking. So normally it's really common to see our students being able to balance the internship with the course, with the normal schedule. I don't know if that answers your question, Jessica. Here I'm going to see. And with that, I think that we answer more or less the questions that are on the chat box. If you have any other questions, please, you can write them. You're welcome, Jessica. And I'm going to pass to the people that raise your hand. So William?
Yes,
Well,
that's me.
yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Willem from Amsterdam, and I have a question about the 3-year professional experience that is required for the master's program.
That's for the executive master.
Oh, executive master.
Yes, not the standard, master, the executives. That's the executive program is tailored for working professionals.
Ah, that explains a lot.
Yes.
And the normal master's program, because I'm a 20-year-old bachelor student, so 3 years of professional experience.
That would be a bit tough.
It's a bit
Yes.
tough.
Exactly.
And for the normal master's program, there isn't some professional experience requirements?
No.
Okay.
No, we will make sure you get that.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So the next person is Achodor, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So please, you can unmute yourself and tell us if you have any questions. Okay. And if not, I'm going to pass to Valerie, if I'm not mistaken. You have the last name Balatrika, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if you want to ask a question or not. Okay, if not, I will pass again to the chat in case that I miss any other question.
I just saw a question quickly pop up again about the waiver for the English proficiency proof. Literally just write your name and specify why you qualify for the waiver. And it could be as simple as because I did my entire high school degree with English as a language of instruction. It doesn't have to be longer than a sentence. Just tell us. If you go to our website, you'll see if you qualify for a waiver, basically, if English is your mother tongue or you have done your prior degree with English as a language of instruction. So one of the two, just write a sentence, sign it, date it, and that qualifies.
Perfect. So I have another question here, which I think that is pretty important. That is, could you give another overview of the tuition fees of the programs?
Sure. For which program specifically?
Yes, which program, Prieto, if you can specify it, so we can answer your question. Okay, I will wait to Pietro to write.
Yes.
Well,
I can answer the question about the deposit, because that's a very good question. So yes, a deposit is required in order to secure your place, and that is not only our requirement, but that is a requirement by the Swiss visa authorities. In order to apply for a visa, you have to show proof of payment of a tuition deposit, and that is because they want absolute proof that you are committed to coming to study in Switzerland and that you are financially committed as well. So that is not only our requirement, but the Swiss authorities' requirement. And as soon as the deposit arrives, we provide you with the documentation that you need to submit to support your visa application in that regard.
Yes, Pietro already responded, and is master and double master.
Okay, yes. So the tuition fees for the masters for next year are 34,900, and for the double master, it depends. We have several double master options available: 39,900 and 40,000
for the master. And bachelor and masters are allowed to the financial aid. To repeat this info that I think
bachelor and masters are both eligible for financial aid. And again, the deposit that is required gets taken out of the full tuition payment. So, let's say if you have a 10,000 franc deposit and the fees are 40, then you only need to pay 30. The deposit is never in addition to the fees.
Okay, I have one question here, and I want to tell you, because it says Knowledge Factory, so I don't know exactly who are you, but please let your email below so we can discuss. If you already have a master, if you want to do a master or executive or a doctorate, I can help you with that. And I prefer to do that on one-on-one, because that way we can check your case more specifically. And with that, what are the chances for international students to obtain acceptance?
That depends on the student, obviously, which is oh gosh, that's not really an answer, is it? No, we look at every person on a case by case basis, and the most important thing to us is really we want to see someone who is very motivated, someone who's not afraid to arrive in Geneva and hit the ground running, and the first month of after classes begin, start applying for internships. That's the kind of individual that we want to see.
Exactly. Also, a person is asking, the currency of Switzerland is Swiss francs.
Yes.
So you have to check what is the conversion rate. I think in US dollars, I don't know.
1 Swiss franc is very roughly equivalent to €1 or $1, roughly.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. And with that, I'm going to pass, because I saw that Queer, you raise your hand again. So please let us know.
Yes, I wanted to ask if there are any deadlines to the application process, for example, the autumn one.
The deadline yes and no. If you do not hold an EU passport, the government will set a deadline in that you have to apply for your student visa no later than 3 months before you would like to come. So that is a hard deadline imposed. If you apply late and it's 1 month before classes start, and you're just applying for a visa 1 month before, there's no way that you will get your student visa in time to join us for the first day of classes. As far as a softer deadline, for those looking for financial aid, again, we only have a limited number of financial aid offers to give. So once the financial aid has been exhausted, and once our places in our programs have all been taken, then you'd have to apply then for the following intake.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. And the Lena, she also raised her hand again. So please, Lena, tell us.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to ask about housing opportunities at GSD, if you have dormitories, and if so, if they're available for master's students as well, and how much those would cost in addition to the tuition fees.
Right. No, that's a really good question. I'm pleased to say that the housing situation in Geneva is okay. For students. Geneva is a big university town, so there are a lot of student residences in and around campus. We do not have our own dormitories. Not that many universities in Switzerland do. But we have a list of student residences that we recommend and that we provide to the students that have been admitted. And we do help you through student support find housing. And the prices for housing can vary. The prices start at around 650, I think, US dollars or Swiss francs per month, and go up from there. But usually I tell people 700, 800 is what you should budget for student residences per month.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And also, speaking of timing, we've been discussing timing a lot, when to apply. Also, the early bird gets the worm for student residences. Finding accommodation in Geneva 2 weeks before classes start has been described as a full contact sport. So the earlier you apply, the earlier you start looking for accommodation, the more seamless the process will be. No one ends up homeless. I tell people, no one ends up, camping. No, everyone finds something, even the people who start looking really, really late. But for your own peace of mind, again, the earlier you start looking, the better. Definitely.
So now, in order to wrap up, I'm going to tell Robin, because the hand, and it's going to be the last question that we're going to take, and then we're going to wrap up this webinar. And Robin, please tell us what is your question?
I wish to ask, how much is the deposit master students are going to pay?
Okay. The deposit for the master program.
The deposit for the masters is 12,000 Swiss francs.
Okay. And then after paying the deposit, how much can you allocate monthly if you want to pay as your tuition fee? Like your budget for a month, if you want an agreement with the school to pay a month,
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. Are you asking for the payment options for the remaining amount?
Yes, payment options, yes.
Yes, well, for that we put people in touch with our accounting and finance department. But no, we have many students who pay monthly, or that there are we are certainly open to payment options that usually, let me back up a little bit. The way that the tuition policy works is you pay your deposit, and that amount is subtracted from the total for the tuition fees, and then the remaining amount is payable in 2 installments before the start of each semester.
With that, I think that we answer more or less all the questions. We have taken all the info that you provide in the chat box, all the emails. We will contact you as soon as possible in case that you want to have a chat, a one-on-one. And lastly, we will like to invite you to follow us in our social media, of course, because this way you are going to be able to see also what our students are doing right now. And as admissions counselor, and for sure Maya always also says, it's really important in case that you want to know a little bit more about our institution. We have the student body presidents that are amazing students on all levels that they can give you information. If you want to know a little bit what it is, the student life here in Geneva, they can provide you with that information, and we are more than happy to put you in contact with our students. But the easiest way is through social media, of course. I'm not saying nothing weird. I think everything now goes through social media. And with all of that, thank you very much. We're going to be continuing gathering the information of the chat box. You will receive our email soon. But thank you again for your time, for spending time with us together. We hope that it was helpful and you have all the information that you need. and have an amazing, I don't know, afternoon, morning, depends on where you are. And thank you very much again, guys.
Thank you. Goodbye.